Hello guys, we will start second chapter of the book 100 Baggers, and it is an investment book. If you want to invest in good stocks and want to know how to find good stocks, so this book is for you. So let's start it. Let's start the chapter 2. Anybody can do this through stories. So because it sounds utterly magical to invest 10,000 in a stock and walk away with a 1 million. Some years later, Phelps emphasized how investing in 100 baggers was something achievable by anyone. One way he did this was to tell stories of real people who managed the feat. I have many examples of my own. When I started the 100 Bagger project and began writing about it, I got a lot of email from readers who had netted a 100 bagger. People told me their stories. It is worth sharing a sampling of these early on because they help set the tone. Ordinary people can do this. You don't have to have an MBA or work at a hedge fund. And as you will see, the lessons people drew from their experience are exactly the ones this book will reinforce. Here is one email. As an active investor and a trader for 30 years, I have come to this realization that this 100 bagger approach and philosophy is the way one should approach a lifetime of investing. If one could only receive the proper level of mentoring as a young man to commit oneself to this course. If I only knew this when I started out, I would not only be wealthier, but my quality of life would have been vastly better through all those years. I had had my share of home runs and plenty of disasters. I have countless days glued to the computer screen monitoring positions and trades over a career of investing, speculating. The only real money that I had, that I held, that I held real money that I held on to were in long term investment. So my discovery in investing and advice to younger ones who would endeavor to is study markets and invest in long-term enterprises which have the potential to vastly outpace other companies and industries, and stick with them as long as the theme is intact. Forget about the trading and use the time you would have spent monitoring the trade with your family. It seems so simple, but few actually ever achieve it. Here is a prime example of what I am talking about. Back in January 1992, I read the Barron's Roundtable, and Felix Jolov recommended potash of Sas- Saskatchewan POT as a unique way to play the China growth story. It all made sense to me, so I took a modest position. The stock did quite well. I recall I bought it for $2 per share. I held on to for 3 years and I got a 4-5 bagger out of it. I was pretty impressed and with myself at my acute market acumen. It stalled out eventually and I sold it around 1996 as I got tired of it trading water. Now, mind you, the original premise never changed. It was always intact, yet I craved new action. If I have if I had held on until the blow off in 2007, have I would have had my 100 bagger. If one had bought even earlier, it was a 200 bagger. So the lesson is one needs to stick to the original theme, and if it is intact, just hold on. I would you I believe your project is In fact, a very achievable objective. One needs to isolate the common threads and place one's bets on the table after much research and conviction. Then hold on. That's a good story. From someone who has won his wisdom the hard way, he hits on many important themes in this book. I am going to have my 16-year-old son and my 13-year-old daughter read it so they will know it's not just dad saying this stuff. Here is another email. I remember as a kid, my dad used to grumble about my grandmother because she would complain that she couldn't see well and she had cataracts. He would say, well, she doesn't seem to have any trouble reading the fine prints of W. Wall Street Journal when she is checking her ESO stock. That would have been around 1971, and somehow that is still in the recess of my mind. Now, if one thinks this is 100 bagger goal is unachievable, just consider a young kid. If I had just started accumulating ExxonMobil back then, it would not have taken a genius or much of a stock picker gene just buy the largest oil stock in the world that had been around for 100 years. Just put your blinders on and keep accumulating over a lifetime. No stress, no white knuckles, since it has a very conservative balance sheet, no high wire act. So where would I would $1 back in 1971 in ISO be worth today? By my calculations, 418 plus 1 would have been collecting a juicy dividend all those years. Amazing, isn't it? Everybody had a story somewhat like this. All right, one more because these are so interesting. In about 1969 1970, when a billboard in downtown Seattle read, will the last person turn out the lights? A friend of mine had just sold an apartment house in Seattle, netted about 1 lakh after tax. His view was that thing couldn't get any worse for Boeing, so he bought 10,000 shares of $9 per share. Within about 10 years or so, he was getting annual cash dividend for almost as much as he had paid for the stock. This had to be 100 plus bagger with all of the stock dividends and splits over the year. In 2002, I believe he still had not sold a share. Key here is the idea that you must sit still. Think of all the reasons to sell Boeings in 1970: inflation, wars, interest rate worries, economic fears. The list of reasons to sell is always long. But if you have done the job of picking right, you are better off holding on. This reminds me an anecdote by Chris Milterman, an exceptional investor, published in one of his shareholder letters. An, exp- an excerpt appeared in Value Investor Insight. Savor this. Imagine if a friend had introduced you to Warren Buffett in 1972 and told you, I have made a fortune investing with this Buffett guy over the past 10 years. You must invest with him. So you check out Warren Buffett and find that his investment vehicle, Berkshire Hathaway, had indeed been an outstanding performer, rising from about $8 in 1962 to $80 at the end of 1972. Impressed? You bought the stock at $80 at December 31, 1972. 3 years later, the Later on December 31, 1975, it was 38, a 53% from drop over a period in which S&P 500 was down only 14%. You might have dumped it in disgust at that point and never spoken to that friend again. Yet over the next year, it rose from 38 to 94. By December 1982, it was 775 dollars and on its way to 223 today. Compounded annual return of 20% over the past 42 years. I may print out the above and frame it so anybody can do this. What you need to learn is how to buy right and then hold on. The latter sounds easy, but it is hard in practice. I will offer a crutch in the next chapter, and later still we will deal with how to buy it. So, thank you guys. Here I completed the second chapter of this book. If you like my videos, please subscribe and like me or comment me if you have any questions. Thank you.